Showtime!
Loving the hat, bro.
Back at it again. Hey,
shout out to all your what is it, a Texas thing?
Bro, if you don't know about Buc-ee's, you don't know.
We have any of those in Orlando.
If you don't know about Buc-ee's, you don't know.
Kids, what is it, like a Chuck E. Cheese?
No.
What is it?
It's
restaurant?
No, it's a big gas station company. It's a
gas station company.
The funny thing is, I think there's only like 7 or 8 actual Buc-ee's locations across Texas. Yeah, but it's huge. It's a lifestyle, man. It's weird.
It's like having a Jeep, right? My girl's got a Jeep.
Yeah.
And every time I'm driving it, and another Jeep drives by, she said, no, it's 2 fingers.
Yeah, it's 2 fingers.
You got to put up 2 fingers.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But then I remember my dad had a Corvette, and it was the same thing. So it's people buy it literally to be a part of that community.
Yeah, it's really funny on the FJs. I have a Toyota FJ. And so on the FJs...
Love FJ.
Yeah. You know that you can buy them still brand new in the Philippines?
No way.
Yeah, and
I don't know why they ever get away
side.
with it, to be honest with you. They couldn't stay on the lot. I have no idea why they did away with that car. The truck.
You can go buy it.
You want to call it?
It's an off-road experience.
Right.
It's an off-road experience.
No, I love that thing. I loved it because we always made money.
I get asked everywhere I go, when will I sell it? How much would I sell it for? I'll never sell that car. I have so many plans.
Baby. That's why you got to love Toyotas, man.
That's exactly it.
It's the only car you can buy that's worth more after you purchase it. Right. Literally, you could sell it.
That's right.
A couple of weeks after you bought it and get more than what you paid in most cases. That's why I love working with Toyota. That was my main sales point, actually, with Toyota. That was the premise of a lot of our strategy. Was it's really the only vehicle
you used to call it
a depreciating asset. It's
selling the badge.
You
used to say that the badge sold itself. I love the Toyota because the badge sold itself.
Yeah, I didn't know the difference when I started between what was it? Thing on the back of the car, spoiler, and an exhaust.
Oh, we were bad.
Literally, I thought
we were terrible.
The exhaust.
We were terrible at actually. No, we were really bad.
It's unbelievable to think of how much product that we were able to sell without knowing anything about it. Like, I'm terrible with mine now. Every time I hear something, I got to take it in because I can't do anything to my car. I can't replace.
I know, right? It's so weird not being in the business.
Simple things. Look at the dipstick. I got to take it over to my dad's house or something and check out the dipstick. Speaking of dipsticks, this is actually where I want to start. Speaking of dipsticks, I was on, I go through social media. I check out Instagram every once in a while. And I literally saw a guy who was recording a video while he was reading off of his laptop. Like his podcast, he was reading off of the video, and it wasn't like he was reading an excerpt for something.
Right.
Like it was a sales pitch, and he was literally reading off of his laptop while he was trying to pitch something on social media. And I just thought how ridiculous that is, right? I mean, at least most of the influencers are smart enough to either memorize it or have someone holding up, something in the background, to make it look more authentic. But this guy literally had no shame. And it made me think about how many videos I see now, and all of them are scripted, and all of them are over-edited.
Yep.
And that's what I think is going to be a big difference with people who are going to watch our videos. They're not really all that edited. They are total freestyle, and that's the way that the business world is. That's how the business world operates. So I don't understand why people are drawn to it for the most part. And I think I know why, actually, because there's not much different. I don't think there's anything out there that's different. I don't think people have really tried to freestyle it because they're so afraid that they'll look foolish or they'll say something that that demeans their credibility, that they're intimidated by trying to do it freestyle. That they're afraid that it's not going to be appealing. And it takes more time in the long run to gain a following that way. Like if you have the music in the background and the edgy editing and showing clips in the background, all that will get people's attention because people have very short attention spans.
Right.
But I think in the long run, it really doesn't benefit anybody who's watching, because that's not how the business world and in our world, that's in my world, that's not how sales operates. Sales is a very quick-witted and sharp business, and it doesn't work. Even if you come up, like I've come up with 1 million scripts, all right, and most of the time, it's really to just boost the salesperson's confidence initially, to get them comfortable with talking to people until they develop their own style. Because scripts really don't work all that well, because it sounds scripted. Even if you come up with the most creative script that you can think of, and all the scripts that I created, when in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, how can I write this script for it not to sound like a script?
But
ultimately, it really is going to sound like one, because every salesperson has a different personality and is going to have a different approach.
Yep.
Tone in their voice, how strong are their verbal skills, how strong are their social skills. It's going to be different for every salesperson. So that's what I wanted to get into a little bit is how to spot the phony. And why you need to pay much more attention to what's non-scripted, what's not overly edited, and really spot what's valuable as opposed to what's entertaining.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I wanted to start talking about today.
One thing I love, so a lot of people know, and I started my career, in multimedia entertainment, right, in production. I think one of the biggest challenges was always writing scripts for on-camera talent that didn't sound like a script, right? And I mean, you've got it everywhere. You've got it from the reality TV explosion, right? Everything is scripted. Every show you watch that is reality TV, right, is they call it like soft scripting. And so
Laguna Beach, Keep Up with the Kardashians, those are all scripted.
Yeah, they'll spend like a couple days prior to the shooting, kind of role playing the scenes, and they'll actually cut them. They'll actually do them multiple times. They'll do the same thing several times over a period of a day. I got to experience that a lot. Doing some of the pilots that we did. We did a lot of sports reality TV. This is early 2000s. And yeah, I mean, you would think when you watch the final polish, that final edit, that for the most part that happened naturally. That happened the way it was. But no, I mean, you're trying to control the entire environment. So that's actually really funny. I think, how do you spot the reality TV in software or in a marketing agency or in advertising? I would say, when it comes to personalities and people selling a brand, look to see if they're selling themselves or if they're looking to sell the service that they provide, right? And I think some of the big giveaways, like the telltale signs that this is snake oil, is going to be whenever there's statements of quick, easy, fast, do it yourself. When things are bundled in like downloadable kits, if you can download the same thing that your competitor is downloading, why the fuck do you want it? Because your competitor isn't doing it? How do you know that? Is it worth the $300 gamble? Is it worth a $50 gamble? Is it worth giving your email address away and being emailed 1 million times now and have to go and unsubscribe to that? You have to ask yourself, does it feel like a gimmick? Then it's probably a gimmick, right? If it sounds
like talk about bundling something together. I mean, you're the tech expert.
Yeah.
To me, again, I'll use this phrase a lot: is the one size fits all agenda for every different product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking, one of the most inspiring quotes. I've watched every Steve Jobs movie that there is. I've read about him. And the one thing that struck me, because I can relate to it, was don't try to do things necessarily even better than someone else. What is their tagline? Think differently.
Think differently.
So any kind of business that you have, no matter what you're selling, the key is to try to stand out.
Yeah.
It's try to be different than the competition.
Differentiation.
Because you've got to penetrate it somehow.
That's right.
Especially if the businesses that we're primarily trying to work with are the 1 to 10 million mark, where they've made a dent, but they've reached a ceiling.
Locally, and they've reached a ceiling.
More local and at best regional. And how do you penetrate a broader audience?
Right.
And the way that you do that is by being different and differentiating yourself, separating yourself. I think video content, unedited video content, more so authentic video content, is going to be the future. I really do. I think people are going to catch up to the fact that why would you need to edit and make all, why would you need to do the dog and pony show if your product is that good? Why wouldn't you just have somebody consuming it, using it, talking about it? If it's as worthwhile, if it's as valuable as it is, why do you need the deception? Why do you need for it to be so?
Let's look at an example, right? So I always thought this was really fascinating that McDonald's regionally, right? They actually have different menus. You ever notice that?
No, I haven't.
And
I'm
probably the one that
chicken fajita burrito is. I haven't had one of those in over. Those are my favorite.
It's not in Florida. They don't still.
No, where do I need to go to get the chicken fajita burrito?
That I don't know, but
that was the moneymaker. A little hot sauce, a little picante sauce. That was where it was at, man.
So,
I just love those.
So one of the things that's interesting about that is they were like, as they were growing, they were like, okay, look, we're all over the place, but that's because of our burger. It's because of our hamburger, right? That's easy. That's everybody recognizes them for their hamburgers, their fries, and they have the best Coca-Cola. Somehow their recipe. Somehow their recipe for Coca-Cola is like it's on its own level, right? It's ridiculous. And that's a fun one to use as an example as well, is that the different brands that license license soft drinks, they actually have different recipes, right? So like Dr. Pepper's recipe for Wendy's is specific for Wendy's. And so going back to the McDonald's reference, in the Northeast, you can get a shrimp po' boy, and you can get a lobster po' boy. I'm sorry, you get a lobster po' boy, and you can get crab legs. And so I think it's somewhere in Boston. There's McDonald's up in the Boston area, the Maine, Massachusetts region, Vermont, where those McDonald's have like fresh. I don't know if it's fresh. You know what I mean? It's regional. It's regional for them.
Scary thought,
right? It's very scary thought.
The best it is.
I can't remember where it is. There's a part of like the Midwest. I'm sure it's like near Idaho, where you can get mashed potatoes at McDonald's, but you can't get mashed potatoes at all McDonald's, right? And so that's differentiation. If you're going to buy a bundled kit, right, of so and so's, unleash the weaponry, bulletproof,
ninja style marketing,
ninja style, be all end all to everything, unlock dominance in the SEO forever, right? Any of that shit is it's exactly what it sounds like. It's take print them, and use them as toilet paper. So that's what it's worth. That's what it's really worth. There's not one client that we have where we will take, let's just use SEO as an example, right? There's not one client where we're going to take a one-size-fits-all. I don't care that you're between 1 and 10, maybe 12 million in revenue annually, and you've got a very specific product, you've got a very specific service, and you've got a very specific target audience in your local area. We're never going to just make the assumption, right, that like here's the out-of-the-box keywords that you need to be focused on targeting, because here's your 3 other competitors. Here's how we're going to negative keyword them. Here's how we're going to compete against them. Here's how we're going to backlink. There's no one size fits all. Like we have specific software and tools. Most people are familiar with things like Moz or SEMrush, and these are basically really nice tools that are out there. They're accessible to just the general public for a price. And you can get on these tools and you can learn the software, you can get to the training and understand at a very basic level, what keywords work and what keywords don't. And I'll use another example that's going back to the car business that you and I, we used to use software that was able to help us see what is the average used car price of a Chevy Silverado at what year to what year. Is there that sweet spot? How many of them are available in our area? How many of them are available? How many, outside of our area? How many of our competitors have them? How long have they had them? What did they pay for them? What are they listing them priced for right now? That kind of stuff still exists. That stuff exists, for SEO. It exists for understanding how to get paid rank. It gives you ideas on how to build campaigns for social media engagement, social media ad targeting. But it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You actually have
Let's
to get in.
Let's break down SEO a little bit, because I think we might be jumping the gun a little bit on our audience knowing what a lot of this is referring to. So
sure.
Why don't you dive into SEO a little bit and organic versus paid?
Well, we won't even deal with paid. We won't even deal with paid. Let's just focus solely on just what is the basic understanding, what is the basic concept of search engine optimization. Search engine optimization at its core is understanding how a search engine works. What is it looking for in terms of a website, which I don't even like to use the word website, but in terms of a customer journey and an experience. So let's break it down and think about it. I always like to talk about reverse engineering. Right? So let's reverse engineer SEO. So you're Google, and you have the biggest search engine platform on the planet, right? And so you're heavily invested in that tool, and you need your customers to trust it, and they need to trust that when they go to hit a search, and you as Google are returning offers and opportunities for them that you think are in line with the searches that they're making, that the experience that's going to be delivered once they click that link is going to make the customer happy. They're going to be delighted by that experience. They're going to feel like you as Google solved a problem that they had. Now, that's very simple when we talk about, I want to understand how to translate what I just said, or I got a message from a girl, she's Spanish, she sent me the message in Spanish, I want to know what she said. Was it nice or was it mean? It's very easy to say, Google, take this sentence, figure out what language it's in and translate it to English. That's not SEO. That's not what we're talking about. Those are micro products. Those are micro programs that are built inside of Google. That's not the same thing as a search result, right? When Google doesn't have an answer that is their own proprietary, like a calculator or a loan configurator or what's the current stock value of Apple, right? Then they're going to turn to other experiences that are out on the web, that's out in the internet, and they're going to figure out that experience, every answer to every question that experience has, right? That when I go to this website, I'm going to get an answer to the search query that I put in, the keywords that I used. So there's a whole lot of things happening there. So first of all, Google is indexing your entire website. So let's say you have a website. You tell Google I have a website. And there's things that we have to do. It doesn't happen on its own, right? Especially if you're a website with less than significant traffic. Google is not on its own by default. If you're hosted through GoDaddy, or you're hosted through Namecheap, or you're hosted white labeled from like a provider like us, we are unique in the sense that all of our clients' websites on our hosting, all of our domains are immediately targeted with, all of the correct tagging and all of the correct infrastructure set up to let Google know. Right? We have a website and we want your robots to crawl it. We want you to index us. We want you to to look through our entire site, and then we even have sitemaps that actually are just a text file that let those bots know exactly what to look for on our website. Right? So once Google does an assessment and they have crawled and indexed your site. Indexing means they've broken down each page. They know the entire taxonomy and the entire architecture of your website. They know where every link is, where it goes. They know what links go away from your site to other sites. They understand all of that. when it's indexed, that means that it is now inside of Google's database, right? From there, Google has now done a bunch of assessments and evaluations of what does your website say, what does it talk about, what themes does it talk about, and it starts to extract the keywords that you have organically. It starts to take content that you have on your site that is facing. We're not even talking necessarily about metadata yet. We're not talking about data that is hidden within the code behind an image or inside of the subtext of the footer. We're talking about just, I have a blog or I have a product and this product has specifications and it has a definition and a description and it has a price. All that's being indexed in a very high capacity, high level of knowledge intelligence. And then Google is matching keywords that are being used on your site against keywords that customers are searching. And then it's paring those down. It used to be called, people will still sometimes talk about long tail keywording. But long tail just essentially refers to a string of keywords put together looking for a very specific answer or result, right? And so then Google looks at that. They look at their keywords. They look at your keywords. They find matches there. They sync those up. And then as people start to search for your keywords, your site will come up in the results based on a ranking. And that ranking comes down entirely to the context and nature of what the client is searching for, what that customer is searching for. And this is where it gets tricky, and this is where a one-size-fits-all doesn't ever work. Because a one-size-fits-all makes the assumptions that these keywords set up in this way for your site based on the product or the service that you sell is just going to work for Google. Google is so far more sophisticated than that, that there's no way you're going to show up on even page 3, page 4, page 5, page 10, much less page 1 or page 2, unless the client is specifically looking for you. If you go in right now to Google and type in athletic shoes, what do you think is going to happen?
Nike, Adidas.
It's going to be a fight, right? And that's where you also start to see that long first page of sponsored top rankings, right? People that are paying for those keywords. That's where you talk about paid versus unpaid. They're paying for those keywords to try to get that first place seat, because think about how insanely competitive athletic shoe,
tens of millions,
soft drink, right? Backpack.
Same thing.
Now, the other problem with that is it's not personalized. Most people are not doing unpersonalized, impersonal search. Most people on Google are doing hyper-personalized searching, right? For fun, just as user watching, go and look at your last 37 searches that you did on Google, right? Just go there. Go to your history. Doesn't matter what browser you're using, and just look at my search history. What did I actually type in? And you might think, like, I know exactly what I typed in, but it'd be an interesting exercise to go in and actually see how specific were you in your last search, right?
Well, there's a reason for that. When you type into Google, this was something that I came across yesterday. I was helping my nephew with a little bit of his homework, and he was talking about, or he was trying to figure out the difference between area and volume, and he was looking for the he was looking for the equations.
Cool, really
and
cool.
And he typed in, like, how do you find the area, or how do you find, what is the equation for area?
Cool, okay.
And then he said, what is the equation for volume? And then when you type in, you'll notice that Google starts to give you
immediately
suggestions on what you're typing in.
Immediately.
So it'll give you like 10 or 12 different lists, and that list actually keeps on getting bigger.
Yeah.
And it already came up. I said, well, why don't you look at the differences? And he said, so he typed in, he erased it all. He typed in, what is the difference? And then immediately underneath of it, between area and volume. So the search toolbar itself, when you're typing something in, it's making those suggestions for you.
That's right.
So it's personalizing it for you. It's trying to figure out what it is that you're really looking for.
Yes, and Google's they're the best at it. They're the best at it. They're the absolute best at it. It's almost mind-reading. It's almost scary sometimes, because they're also, when you're logged in.
That's why I don't use any other search engine.
When you're logged into Google, it also is remembering all of it's actually personalizing your search over and over and over again. Every single time you use Google and every website you go to, they're starting to hyper-personalize by hyper-indexing and profiling you. And I don't mean that in a weird, negative way. I mean, they're literally profiling you. They're making your experience, they are so custom tailoring your Google experience that, like, I'm so Google connected, right? I'm on Google's literal cell phone subscription, right? My cell phone provider is Google. My phone is a Google Pixel. My entire company, our entire company is G Suite, right? Everything we do is Google. I'm on YouTube TV. I use YouTube Music. Now, I do that because personally for me, and all of my home automation is all done through Google's, through Google Assistant and Google My Home. Even though I have Roku, it's technically all my TVs are actual Chromecast TVs as well. I have all my laptops are actually Chromebooks on the Chrome OS. And the reason for that is I have committed so much investment into my hyper-profiling and personalization that every experience I have that Google is a part of the core of the result is absolutely 100% custom tailored to me. Right?
Why is Google doing that? Why is that? Why is that value. The direction that they've chosen to go?
They win because they win every time. And
is it better for small business or is it harder for small business? Is
That's
it
a great question. That's a beautiful question.
How are they using that information to best benefit them? Because common sense tells you that
stickiness, right? Brand loyalty. I've had an iPhone once in the last 7 years. Once, right? I had it for a year and done. Went back to Pixel, right? And I hated it the second I opened it and took it out of. And I know all the Apple users are going to be like, "What? Oh, great, he's a PC dork." Well, yeah. Again, hyper personalization. I can't customize a Mac the way I want it. Like, I get it. All of our editors, all of our people in graphics, they all use Macs, and there's a bunch of reasons why. When I was in production, we all also used nothing but Mac, and that's because in that space, this is hyper personalization. Apple has made it easy. It's a cross-platform experience. So across every Apple device, all of your experiences are perfectly tailored. Apple, we actually don't ever talk about this. I spend so much time talking about Google. On the Apple side of the spectrum, Apple does exactly the same thing. So Safari browser, right? iPhone, Alexa. Why did I just say Alexa? That's not what I meant. Siri, right? So all of your Apple integrations, right? They do the same thing. They're all doing deep learning. They're all doing hyper-personalization. Apple knows you and loves you, but they're also very homogenistic, right? They're very vanilla. So Apple treats you, when you like it, right? They treat you vanilla. They treat you like this is just it's very personalized, but at the same time, it's very vanilla. It's the same wrapper for everybody, right? But it's still hyper-personalized. The other end of that, and that's really, it's delineated. It's like there are the people who love their comfort and they love their comfort zone, they're Apple users. The people who are out on the fringe and a little bit weird and like, I could have my beard, and then tomorrow I could just shave it off, right? Like, I might wear a concealed carry shirt today and a Buc-ee's hat, and then tomorrow I'm in a 3-piece suit. I'm just a nutcase like that, right? It's just weird though. So both companies, totally different approaches, same goal, and they have the epitome of the success is that they have customer loyalty. Their brand loyalty is massive. So absolutely, small businesses, there's no reason to not. You have access, especially through agencies like us. There's absolute wealth of information on how to hyper-personalize your customer journeys and how to roadmap that and how to be able to get that customized personalization experience in the hands of your customer. And that's, again, why one size fits all doesn't make any sense, right? Going out and buying someone's downloadable library of surefire win tactics on how to do SEO, everything we just talked about should have just shot holes right through that. Why would you? Any logical, smart business owner who's got a company doing between 1 and 10 million a year should be like, yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. And you've probably already tried some of those things, and you've realized you got very nominal results from it, very limited results from it.
The word that you use, you come from the tech space. And one of the reasons why I think there aren't a whole lot of credible sources to get information on this kind of stuff is because you almost need a sales translator. You almost need the word that you used.
Yeah.
Stickiness. That to me had a much different.
I don't want to know.
Much different.
I don't want to
definition.
Know. Yeah, sure.
Than I think Like in your space, it probably immediately clicks to people like, yeah, stickiness.
Stickiness.
Well, what it means is that no one can pay Google enough money to. No one. The most invaluable thing that Google has is that brand loyalty.
That's exactly it.
Nothing is more important to them than a customer coming back to Google.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
That's why they've chosen that direction.
That's exactly
right. They can't be bought.
No.
So a Nike can't come in and give them $100 million and say, look, just anybody who types in athletic shoe,
you cannot.
Make sure that your personalization tool always finds a way to get back to Nike, because that isn't the best customer journey.
It's not the best customer journey. You just nailed it, Sean.
So that's why small business does have an opportunity.
That's the unfair advantage. That's how you win. That's how you win.
Advantage. It's the fair advantage.
It is the fair advantage.
That's what Google cares about, is the fair advantage,
right.
because it wants its customer to come back. And its customer will come back the most as long as you're providing the best tech tool that you can for them to be able to get either the best product, the best service that's specific to them. What is it? Frank Gay Services. You hear him all over the radio, right? Well, from the reviews that I read, they're absolutely terrible. So let's say they spend a fortune, right, on making sure that they have all the best SEO.
Yeah.
And they pay Google a lot of money.
Sure.
All right? Let's say that they do. This is hypothetical. Let's say that they do.
Yeah.
And customers continue to put, I need HVAC services in my local area. And Frank Gay keeps coming up. Well, that customer is going to get pissed off that Google decided to put them so high when they don't provide the best quality service. So even though they're a big name and they probably pay Google a ton of money to still be on one of the high and still be highly ranked, they're up there, but it's not going to always put them at the top of the list.
No.
Or even at they're going to lose rank the more that they disappoint customers, no matter how much money they're paying Google.
That's right.
And that is very important for customers to understand, that they can take advantage of things like SEO. And they can take advantage of things like backlinking.
100%.
You talked about coding your website, coding images and things like that. That's, again, backlink to your area, completely your area. But they can take advantage of those tools. They don't just need to think that, I'm never going to be a player on Google because I don't have $10 million to spend with Google.
Not at all.
Because that's not Google's priority.
It's not their priority.
If you do your job well and create that ideal customer journey, then you will be visible on Google at some point with enough effort and enough momentum.
That's right.
And using an agency like ours to do the correct things.
That's right. I love it.
That's key.
You
just
absolutely
absolutely
nailed it.
Vital.
You absolutely nailed it.
All right. That's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's
We'll
take a break.
take a break.
All right. Yeah. We